previous friendship that I attempted to rekindle due to the whole like life is short type of thing ended up not working out. But it wasn't the fact that it didn't work out that got me. It was what I ended up finding out in the process. And it led me to then realize that another person who was an acquaintance also had quite a mouthful to say. And we'll just leave it at that. Hey, it's Beauty. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new, this channel is for my ladies that are building a life that feels just as good, if not better, than it actually looks. So if that resonates for you, join us, join us. A large part of who I am currently is my grief and my grief journey. And so anytime I can, I do try to make content around it. I cannot shy away from it because it is something that I'm carrying with me every single day. And so if you clicked this video, I'm assuming that you are experiencing the loss of something or someone in your life as well. And so I'm just going to share 7 things that have changed for me since I've been in this grieving process. I'm interested to see if you can relate to any of them. Let's get into it. First thing that I noticed that changed was that it really made me question life as a whole. And if you haven't seen my video sharing my grief story, I'll link it up here. But it was almost like when the shock hit me, it never quite wore off. So I've talked about the 5 stages of grief in this video up here, and how for me, I don't feel like it's been a linear process for me. It's kind of been like this, right? So it's like I have been floating between a lot of the different stages, but the one that has not left me is shock, right? And so because my brain is still processing the shock, it's been hard for me to look at life as even like a real thing. Does that make sense? It's like, am I really in a very bad dream? Have I been in a very bad dream for the last year and some change, and I'm just refusing to wake up? Is this really how people are just supposed to carry on? So on and so forth, right? It really changes like reality, so to speak, for me. Another thing that I would say is that it completely destroyed my innocence. So anyone that knows me knows that I've always been very childlike, right? While I consider myself to be a very responsible adult, and I've been a very responsible adult for a very long time, right? My mother did an excellent job at setting all of us up to where that we were self-sufficient when we were ready to be. She didn't push us to do it any earlier than we felt like we wanted to. But nevertheless, she did a fantastic job at it. And so I already know how to do the adult things, right? But there was always an innocent part of me when it came to people, and again, how I viewed the world, and just like the laws of nature that I believed in. It just ruined that for me. It's almost like the people that I can relate to the most when it comes to this particular point are like my nieces and my nephew, for example, right? Because prior to now, they've never known loss, right? They've never even had to understand it. And we're all going through this phase of like, what? So like someone can really be here and not be here anymore? Like we don't think about that, right? And I didn't think that it was something I would have to deal with at this scale. And now when I talk to the girls, they're casually dropping it in conversations that like, what if this person's not here? What if you're not here? Do you see what I'm saying? It's like that innocence, the zeal, the childlikeness that you have because you feel like the world is your oyster, life is gray and unicorns and rainbows. It's not that you don't know that bad things happen, right? But for the most part, you have like a disposition that's very, very, very childlike. Right? And I feel like this situation has stripped me of that. It has put me on adulting pro max. And again, I'm not talking about from a responsibility standpoint. It's more so from a mental and an awareness standpoint. I'm just too aware now. And yeah, that's been a tough one for me. Another way that grief has rewired my brain is that it's provoked me to extend grace in ways that I usually wouldn't. And I'm still trying to figure out if this one's a good or a bad thing, right? Because grace extended to the wrong people and situations can be very detrimental to you, especially when you're in such a vulnerable place as it is, right? But it has caused me to, again, reevaluate some of my relationships. And I don't know if I'll make a whole video about that, but a previous friendship that I attempted to rekindle due to the whole like life is short type of thing. Ended up not working out, but it wasn't the fact that it didn't work out that got me. It was what I ended up finding out in the process. And it led me to then realize that another person who was an acquaintance also had quite a mouthful to say. And we'll just leave it at that, right? My point is that while I'm grateful that it exposed the two of these people, I am also cognizant of the fact that it was still my choice to extend the grace to begin with, right? And so what I took from that situation was just that, okay, so maybe everybody does not deserve a second chance. Maybe people are just who they are, right? Maybe sometimes people are angry at you simply because they no longer have access to you, not because you're a bad person, right? And I think, again, that innocence and that glimmer of optimism that I can tend to have, especially if I forget how I've been wronged, sometimes, again, should just be reserved for people that I have really, really allowed to show me in more ways than none that they deserve it. Regardless, it's still a strange place to be in because I just don't recognize this person, right? I don't know her. I don't know this girl, but it's still in progress. I'll have to see in a few years how I feel about this particular point. So number 4, it changed my outlook on money. Well, I wasn't expecting to get emotional in this video, but prior to now, I've always been very proud of the fact that I didn't have any problems that money couldn't solve. Right? In the family group chat, everybody knew me as that girl. Don't talk to her about it. Yep, that's what she believes. Drop a check, it'll be okay. Right? And that's not to say that I thought that money replaced connections and, things like that. It's that I've always felt if you have a lot of problems, it typically means you just don't have enough money to fix them. And for the most part, it was true. I was nice and healthy. My family was nice and healthy. I didn't have any legal issues. I didn't have any physical issues. Like, there was really not much that was happening in my life that money could not fix. Until now. So I went from the person that was super ambitious and just always felt like if you always have money, you'll be okay. Again, not that I didn't understand that, like, there are things that money can't buy, like good health. It's just not something I've ever had to worry about. I come from a family of pretty healthy people. And even the elders that have passed away in my family died of just natural causes, old age, right? None of them were ever in a care facility. My great-grandma lived until she was almost 100, did her own cooking, did her own gardening. She owned a bunch of property, and she would be like, never sent anyone, okay? She would have the driver take her to the different sites, and she would walk and do all the development went through her. Everything was still being ran through her. Like, she knew she was going to leave it all to my mom and my aunt and my uncle, but she still never left it up to them to do it because she liked being agile, right? This is a woman that still had all of her teeth, no dentures. And when the time came, she simply sent for my mom and my aunt because my uncle had passed. She told them that she was ready to go. This is what I know. My grandpa, same thing. I'm talking about my mom's dad. Passed the same way. More recently, right? So I think I took for granted that it can happen to me too. And it can happen in my family too. And so now, again, I am now the person who's like, yeah, money's still cool. It's nice to make money, but the ambition is not ambitioning like before. I think grief is healing me in the way that I understand that money is a tool. I still understand the value of it, but I suppose now I'm more conscious. I'm more concerned about my health, right? Especially my mental health. If you're going through a loss, you already know how mentally and emotionally it can affect you. So that has to stay at the top priority. I cannot make any solid life decisions in my life right now without considering, is this thing good for my health? And by health, again, I'm talking about mental and emotional, because that spills over into the physical. I can't make big choices. Stubborn as I am, right? I'm the person that, like, I rarely give up on things that I really, really want to do, right? But I've learned to tame that, because I cannot be stubborn to my detriment. If my body is saying no, that's it. That's where we stop. Complete sentence. Because learning to honor my intuition is what the missing piece was all along for me. Sometimes we know something, we don't know how we know it, and we want proof, right? So we do the thing long enough to see the proof. Like, you get a job, you don't like it, you're falling ill, you feel uncomfortable when you're there. When Sunday comes around, you feel like, oh, right? Or you're having to cope with the job by like smoking or drinking or whatever else you're using to like escape. But you tell yourself, oh, this is just a part of the human experience. For the most part, they pay me well. My bills are paid. I have benefits. My coworkers are okay. You're looking for negative evidence for you to walk when your body is shutting down and it's telling you that that's not ideal for you. Do you see what I'm saying? And so for me, I think that that's the part that I used to be a master at. I don't know when I lost it, or when I stopped listening rather, but I'm definitely going back to not needing proof, right? Whatever my body is telling me is proof enough. And speaking of which, another way that it rewired my brain is that it changed my outlook on success, right? So I mentioned before about like how the ambition has been turned down to like low. And that's because I watched two of the most ambitious and successful people that I know not even stay to enjoy their success, right? They went from people who had valuable assets to two people who were just laying right in front of me to be put to rest in the ground. Just like that. And at the moment of making this video, as far as I know, the both of them still have, at the very least, one house, right? At the very least. That's currently fully furnished. Clothes, everything is still like, it's frozen in time. Like were never even there. And so you have to ask yourself, all these things that we're accumulating, what are we accumulating it for? Right? You know that song, is it Dido that sings it? I think it's Dido. That sings the "Nothing I Have Is Truly Mine." I resonate with that so deeply. Because everything's borrowed. You know, and I don't mean this in a religious way. I just mean like logically speaking now, right? Everything that we have is borrowed. Sometimes you lose it and you're still alive. So I'm not even talking about death now, right? I've always known that like money comes and goes. I know it because I've seen it. I've lived it, right? I've known that you could be high one day and low the other. I've seen it. I've lived it. But I think when it comes to mortality, it's a whole nother level. It's a different level of looking at success differently, because you understand that you could work yourself to the ground, or you could do it like in an easy way. I feel like my mom and my brother, the both of them really hacked. They hacked being successful without being stressed. I'll give them that, right? So I can't say that either of them were like working to the bone. No, they were the two most carefree people I probably knew, to where that you didn't know what they did, right? For a living. But both of them had multiple streams of income, and both of them were very smart. Both of them have finance backgrounds. And even still, to think that they were able to enjoy a little bit of it while they were here, but then they left and it was just that. Like any plans that they may have had, gone. Yeah. So now, for me, success is being able to do what I want when I want. That's it. It's that simple. Whatever amount of money I need to make to let me live that way is good enough. It doesn't have to be millions or billions. As long as I'm able to do what I want when I want. That's luxury to me. I don't have to be wearing $3,000 sandals while I'm doing the thing. I don't have to be flying a private jet to that location that I want to go to. Does that make sense? Even though all those things are nice, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just mean that like they're no longer aspirations. And I don't know that they were ever aspirations, but I'm just saying that like I've always wanted a surplus so that I never had to worry, right? So this is why my mom used to joke with me and say that ever since I've been able to work, I worked like I had a husband and 5 kids. You know, she's always like, calm down. What are you know? And I think now I've taken her advice to another level, you know? And that's just where I'm at right now. Don't let me mess around and win the lottery. It'll be over for y'all. It'll be really over because I know what to do. I know how to invest money. I know how to keep money. So if I no longer have to be in the business of earning it, it's a wrap for you, baby. It's a wrap. It's a wrap for you. Sorry. That's another thing. Sorry for what? Like, this is who I am. Ain't no sorry. Like it or love it. Okay, next thing. It made me want to ground myself. All my life, I had to fight. I'm just kidding. I have had a very colorful life, to say the least. And I have done a lot of things. And I've lived many lives in this one life that I've lived. But a lot of it has involved moving around, right? Whether it's for work or whether it's just personally wanting to travel on my own. And while I have enjoyed it and I still plan on doing some travel, this situation really made me want to plant my roots. So I don't really even like that phrase that I just used because I'm the same person that says, if you don't like where you are, move. You're not a tree, right? So planting roots sometimes sounds like, you know, in the literal sense. But I guess what I mean is that for a while, I would like to pour into whatever home that I choose to be in next and just really stay there for a while. Which is why it was important to pick a place that I felt was walkable because I keep hearing so much about walkable cities, you know? Let's see what all the hype is about. But somewhere where I was able to experience different types of the world without necessarily leaving too far. Does that make sense? So like Vegas was like that too, where it was kind of in the middle of America to where like if I wanted cold weather, I can go to Utah, you know, and go skiing. If I want, or even go to like Mount Charleston. If I wanted to go hiking, I'd go to Red Rock. If I wanted a little beach vibe, I'd go to California. My point is that it was central enough that I could reach different types. You know, even though it's not quite the same as what I'm describing, I really want to take advantage of that. So I lived in Vegas, but I didn't do all of those things because I was always traveling. See what I'm saying? So for the first time, if I'm choosing a place that offers all those things, for the first time, I really want to enjoy where my home is. I want to ground myself and not just be go, 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 go. The only thing is I've always lived far from family since I left Houston. And so what that looks like is me missing out, right? And by missing out, it just means like sometimes not being here for my niece's birthday or like first moment and things like that. And thank God for technology. It's just not the same as like actual human interaction, FaceTime. So that's a part that I've, you know, struggled with, but I'll find a workaround because anywhere else that I've moved to, when I lived in Dubai, I would come here for the birthdays, come here for this person, come here. And it was just like 4 nieces and a nephew at that time. So like, that's a lot of birthdays and whatever to be traveling for in a year internationally outside of my own personal travel. So that was a thing, you know, but now I have to find a way to find a balance and draw that boundary and have the talks with the girls. They're getting older enough now that they know, you know, that auntie has to have her own life. They are still sad. They still want me to stay here for 10 years and it'll still not be enough. But just being able to have that conversation with them and recognizing that I need this moment in my life for myself, particularly again, because we just never know when it ends. While it's not like there's anything that I'm trying to achieve with this, I still want to know that like I've experienced what it means to sit still and really just work through life, right? Work through my healing process also while like enjoying where I am at the same time. Does that make sense? It makes sense. It makes sense. Somebody said that if you're asking, does that make sense? It sounds like you're unsure, but for me, it's more of a punctuation. It's like a period for me. So I'm not really asking if it makes sense. I was about to say it again. Okay, last but not least, it has reshaped my ability to be logical in day-to-day situations. This one's a tough one because I've always been someone who I consider myself to be logical. The logical side of me is what allowed me to get through my mother's illness while I was caring for her. It's what allowed me to be like the voice of reason. My siblings may say differently, because when these things happen and when you go from being the kids to having to make decisions on behalf of your parents, it's messy, you know, it's not always pretty. So we didn't always see eye to eye, and so they may disagree with this thing that I'm saying, but I felt that out of the four of us, I was the most logical. I think a lot of decisions were being made emotionally, recklessly, thoughtlessly, but I feel like I was the only one that, it's not that I wasn't being affected, but somehow the logic just kicked in and I was able to just be like, yeah, this is what we need to do. This is what makes the most sense. And this is how we're going to make this happen. And now that she's gone, now that my brother went with her, it's almost like I regressed, right? It felt like I took all the logic that I had left and I invested it in whatever needed to be done for the both of them. And now all of a sudden I don't have any left for myself. And what I mean by that is like, I'm not able to rationalize things very well. It's hard for me to be like, oh yeah, for sure, yep, let me sign up for that class so that we'll start next Friday, because then that'll be perfect timing, because when November comes around, it'll flow. I don't have that type of planning anymore. So maybe I should say that it's kind of ruined day to day for me, because in the day to day, I can no longer plan long term, right? I don't know what's logical to be doing currently when I recognize that long term is not promised. And it's stifling, to say the least. I'm not talking about, again, from like a career standpoint and all that, because that stuff is just, it's so unimportant now, right? I don't care about like a 5-year plan for work or any of that. But it's just being able to experience the little joys in life. It's tough to do on a day-to-day basis for me now, because everything feels like, what's the point? May not even be here tomorrow. Do you see what I'm saying? And it's tough. It's very tough. I've always been an advocate for therapy, and when I get back in the headspace, I may consider it, because I feel like I'm now in a place that I could want to talk, right? But when I first lost them, it was one of those things that like, I don't even have the words, right? Not to mention, like, for you, it's like the end of the world. For this person, you're just client number 2 for that day. And it's not that they're trying to do you a disservice. It's just like people are going through their own thing too. I was fortunate enough to, while mom was sick, have a therapist that could relate to me. Even still, she had so much personal stuff going on in her life that we ended up counseling as well. And then we picked back up after mom passed, and then brother passed. So then, you know, we were transitioning from talk therapy to EMDR, and I could no longer even do that. She had explained to me prior that EMDR is tough to do when you're going through something traumatic in the present, because EMDR deals so much with your past, so much that you're unpacking. But when the trauma is current, or when you have current trauma in addition to that, it's very hard for you to go there, because you're pulling this trauma that's happening right now and you're putting it into that, and it's getting all jumbled up. It's hard to explain. If you know any of the modalities, then you understand what I'm talking about. If you're one of those people that, you know, believes in praying everything away, then you probably don't know what I'm talking about. Either way it goes, no judgment. I don't even know why I went on that tangent, but I think it was just my way of like concluding, all in all, that it's something that I know that I need something. I don't know what the something is yet, but I'm in search of it. Does that make sense? Okay. As usual, thank you so much for watching. I love you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.